Welcome to Travel Buddy, presented by Switchfly. In this podcast, we talk about all things travel, rewards, and loyalty. Let's get to it.
Rachel, what is one travel memory that left you speechless?
Speechless. It would probably have to be standing at the top of Jungfrau in Switzerland. I have never seen a view that cool. I was truly speechless at the top.
I love that you said that. I wrote down Lauterbrunnen, which is like close by.
Yeah.
Lauterbrunnen, that area, like in Switzerland, is the most. It's like you're looking at a painting that you can like put your arm into. It is so wild.
It's so picturesque there, and it's obviously one of the most beautiful countries in the entire world. But when I say I was speechless, and I've been to a lot of mountains. I'm from Pennsylvania in Appalachia. Like, I've been to mountains.
Are there mountains in Pennsylvania?
Hey. It's more than we have in Florida.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Fair enough, yeah.
Fair.
But
Okay,
it's truly beautiful.
Yeah, totally agreed. And that's also why like a bottle of water there is like $20 because it is so beautiful and everybody wants to be there. But yeah, it was also the inspiration, people say, of Rivendell in Lord of the Rings, that Tolkien was traveling there and thought it was so beautiful that must be where the elves live, which fair enough. But yeah, it's beautiful. I have pictures that don't do it justice. It is so gorgeous. So gorgeous.
Agree.
Okay. Ian, what about you?
Mine's a tad more local, I guess. I have a kind of few ideas that spring to mind, but I think the one that really stands out that I really remember just sort of in the moment, just kind of being in awe, we were driving from Portland, Oregon to Madison, Wisconsin, my parents and my son, and we go through Montana on I-90, and you come sort of out of the mountains and you overlook the north side of Yellowstone and like Big Sky, and you're sort of up on one mountain, and then there's, I don't know, however many miles of valley, but then on the other side is Big Sky, and it's just, I mean, it's one of those places that you feel utterly insignificant, in kind of a good way of just like, this is like, that scene would have been the same 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, whatever. It was very just breathtaking.
I'm glad you said that. It is that feeling of insignificance in a way, not totally. Humans are important. Yourself is important. But it makes you like that self-forgetfulness. That is awe-inspiring. Like it just releases your mind of so many anxieties and things that we think about. And it's that great C.S. Lewis quote that says, it's not about thinking less of yourself, but thinking about yourself less. Yes. And I love that quote. Yeah. And it's also a nod that there are many amazing, beautiful places in America. You don't have to go
our
to
country
Europe.
is freaking enormous. Like it's easy to forget just how big it is.
Yes.
Especially everywhere or whatever. Like it really is, but it's bigger than Europe, It's words the size of all of South America. It's like, our country is enormous. And so I'm from the Southwest, but I've lived in, I think, about every region of the country, in the contiguous, and everywhere. Some really awesome, amazing, very unique, stuff to see that is beautiful. I live 15 miles from the third biggest river in the world, and it's easy to sort of just take for granted. And then you drive over the bridge, and if you think about it, and you're looking at the Mississippi, of just like, holy crap, this thing is huge, especially if you travel around Europe and you hear, you always hear of the Rhine or the Seine or those are rinky-dink little rivers compared to, there might as well be a stream compared to the Mississippi or the Missouri or Ohio or any of the big rivers, like right by where I live. It's pretty incredible.
I want to say it's the largest. I could be misquoting, and I'm thinking of Mark Twain or something, but I want to say it's like the largest by volume river like output at the mouth of the river, or something like that.
Some weird stat like that, but I mean, it is unbelievably big.
That's great. Yeah, especially in Texas. I live in Texas. You can drive through Texas for like 16 hours, and you're still in Texas. It's just crazy.
When I was a teacher, her best friend at the school was from Boston, had lived out from Western New Mexico, lived out there for a couple of years, went home to Boston, met somebody at like a conference, a teacher's conference, who he had weeks later had something in Dallas and thought, oh, like I drive to Connecticut or Rhode Island all the time. Like New Mexico's a state away. I'll drive over there. And like 14 hours later,
LOL.
That's
great. Mad respect for Thomas Jefferson's scale of his real estate purchase many, many years ago. Okay, we girls could gab forever, and Rachel has more things to say. But the last thing, I also wrote down St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, in the Vatican. Yeah. I walked into that building, and by the way, the Pope was speaking. If you go on Wednesdays, apparently he talks, and there's like a zillion people listening to the Pope, and he was this tiny little speck across the square. But anyway, that building, just looking up at these like 200-foot tall ceilings, and you're just like, holy crap! Which is a whole other historical problem.
There's something,
many other reasons,
and whether it's so I've been to in Istanbul, and then even near where I grew up, there's holy places for Native Americans, like Canyon de Chelly or Chaco Canyon or something. And like wherever you are, whatever religion, somewhere a big preponderance of people feel is holy. There is something about that place. Like, I don't know if it's just kind of in your head but there is something about a place that people feel is holy, whatever the religion or belief system is. It was incredible.
Yeah. I like that. Respecting the holiness of the place, whatever your beliefs may be. Yeah. It's I think it's the only time I've ever in a building literally left speechless. Everything you've seen everything before on postcards and in movies and whatever, but like there is something about like seeing the Sistine Chapel for yourself of just it being sort of mind blowing. Yeah. Okay, Rachel.
Yes.
Tell us a story of when you were traveling and things did not go as planned. What did it teach you?
So, I mean, we all have these. When I was first thinking about this topic, I was originally thinking, okay, I've had so many, especially when it comes to work travel, where things just do not go as planned. And there was one instance, I was traveling for work. We were flying out of Gainesville Regional, which is a pretty small, like 2 to 3 gate kind of a airport. And I was traveling with my coworker, and it was just the two of us going, and we were ready to get on a plane. It was a 6 a.m. flight. It was the very first flight out of Gainesville. We were so excited to get out there. We were going all the way to California. We were so pumped. It was like, all right, cool. We're gonna get there with plenty of time to do something. The plane was then delayed 12 hours. And we sat there in the Gainesville Regional, and I was thinking to myself, I am less than 10 minutes away from my house. I could go home and work for the rest of the day. We ended up sitting there in the airport, in this 2-gate airport, for the full 12 hours and finally made it out there. Everything else went off without a hitch. But one of the bigger ones, and obviously the more entertaining one, was we went to Paris. I went to Paris in 2018 with a really good friend of mine to celebrate his graduation. And one of the things that we both really wanted to do was go to Versailles. Obviously, it's so wonderful out there.
Yep.
It's so wonderful out there. So we embark on our journey to make it out to Versailles, and we take a look at the metro, and the line on the metro to get to where we needed to go was closed down. And I don't know if it was arrogance. I don't know if it was steadfastness. It was a feeling of, we'll take a couple of other lines and get around the fact that this line is closed. That didn't happen, obviously, because neither of us speak French, neither of us can read French, and neither of us had working cell service at the time in that specific area where we were. And so we went into it with a ton of just, you know what? If we get there, we get there. If we don't, we don't. We ended up I couldn't even tell you what area of Paris we were in. We obviously, after a couple of hours of attempting to make it out there, we were hungry, we were tired, we were thirsty. So we stopped in to what looked like a mall. And I mean, malls here in the US are very different to over there. And we walk into this mall and there is a water park inside the mall where you can purchase from a vending machine bathing suits to go to the water park in the mall. What? So we just ended up walking around, like checking out the water park for a little bit before ultimately being like, we need help and to get home. So we ended up asking the people at the front desk of the mall, but it was just such a random thing to stumble upon, and we never made it out to Versailles. That's the sad part.
Oh, gee whiz.
I know.
That was an emotional roller coaster. So I did not know there was a water park in Paris.
Go to the mall.
Yep.
Sounds fun.
You need to go to the mall.
Well, for good reason. I never try to go to a mall when I'm
what strikes me though,
interesting. Okay.
Especially, and maybe it's mostly in Europe, but of instances in malls, but like how similar many of them are just to being an American mall. It gets like disappointing. As in 2018, I went to and I don't know, like socks or something, like just kind of a random thing, and happened that I was staying at an Airbnb, and there happened to be a mall across from me, and I was just like, every store I can go back into in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, like stuff.
Your stories are highlighting expectations. When you travel, lower your expectations. As excited as you may be, you just never know if you're going to get there.
And you never know when you're going to stumble upon a water park in a mall.
That's right. Yeah, I was saying this before we were recording. I was talking about how I was recommending to somebody recently that was going to Paris for the first time that you let Paris happen to you. Like, just leave time in your schedule. I know you're going to print out that itinerary from ChatGPT, but leave a space for wandering. Just wander. Let nothing be on the schedule for this block of time and just go walk. You'll enjoy yourself.
Paris, I mean, and you could say the same for New York, London, Rome, whatever. But like cities like that are so historic and have so much of those kind of like bucket list items that you want to hit. I'm sure places like Tokyo and Beijing and stuff are similar. I've just never been, but like you're never going to experience everything you want to, especially on like a week trip or whatever. Like the Louvre, you could go spend a week there, just going back every day and hitting a new part. So like you're never going to hit every single one of those. So I totally agree. Like maybe have like an idea of what you want to do. We're going to work our way towards the Eiffel Tower or whatever, but then just let it happen.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that experience taught me, because I am a serial planner. I will have every second of every minute planned out, knowing exactly where we're going to be when we're doing things. It's one of my greatest flaws and my greatest strengths. I recognize that about myself. But in that moment, I had to relinquish that kind of like control of the itinerary, because not only did we have no idea where we were, we had no idea how to get back, and we had no idea what was around us. So, and it's honestly one of my funniest memories is like just the two of us. And I can remember the look on his face when we walked in, we saw this water park, and we wouldn't have had that super laughable moment if it weren't for the fact that something went wrong. And we just had to go with the flow. And I think that's like one of the best parts of when things go wrong. You kind of have that humbling moment of, you just got to go with it. You just got to go with it.
Which, by the way, is the entire point of travel, is to have those moments like that. So my story is, we were on our honeymoon and I did not plan the time of things well. I got time zones wrong. I didn't think about, oh, we're going to be super jet lagged and you're going to be real tired. And it's the morning, but you feel like it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you're exhausted and you've been up all night because you didn't sleep on the plane, because nobody sleeps on the plane when you're in the cattle car and you spend $300 on your ticket to Paris. So staying in a 5-star hotel because it was our honeymoon, and they did not have a room available for 5 more hours. And so we left all of our bags and we walked to the Arc de Triomphe, and my wife sat on the step, or the area near it, and wept because she was so tired. And it was the first day in Paris on our honeymoon. And so we eventually,
not a great start.
No, not a great start. And we went back. It's a very nice hotel. And we were like, well, we just need to sleep. We're miserable. And so we slept in the lobby, and they were not happy about that. But we learned that day that if you would like to get a room faster, fall asleep in the lobby at a 5-star hotel and they will find a room for you. And they eventually did, which is great. Go down, everybody in DFW, Texas can relate to this, but going to Love Field instead of DFW, which is 45 minutes away. Common mistake. It's like a rite of passage. Those are my stories. Ian, what's your story? What did it...
The one that comes to mind was mentioning going to Budapest in 2018. Yeah, okay. My flight connected through Madrid, and at first I'd even trying to think about, I'd never been to Spain. I really still haven't, other than spending a layover in Madrid airport. But I thought about trying to kind of squeeze a day in there or whatever, but events, and I just kept the same itinerary. Well, we got to Madrid, and similar to Rachel, our flight was delayed like 18 hours, but they never really told us, like, it was like, oh, it's delayed an hour or 2 hours maybe, for 18 hours straight. So I couldn't like leave the airport and go wander around. I had to stay there. That was pretty miserable. So I don't know what lessons that really taught me, other than try to avoid what's the Iberia Airlines or whatever.
I feel like the lesson learned there is always bring something to do.
Oh man, yes.
Other than your phone, make sure you have a coloring book for the kids and a book for yourself for entertainment for 12 hours.
Thankfully, I was by myself. If I had my kids with me, I don't think we would have lived. That would have been...
That's what an iPad is for.
That would have been rough. Yeah.
But also, that's when you learn, that's what the airport are for. They allow you to buy some entertainment.
Why they charge 5 times the amount as a bookstore anywhere else. Yeah.
So these cities are made up of people, of course. Rachel, tell about some of the people or persons or person that you have met while you're traveling, and what?
So, I mean, I've met a ton of wonderful people while traveling, and there have been individuals who took me and my significant other in during COVID while we were traveling, and we just ended up not having a place to go, and they opened their home. There have been people I met when I was in Amsterdam on the same trip as our Paris trip, who were sitting at a bar, and all of a sudden someone that I went to college with shows up and like is sitting next to us, and I was like, wait, what is happening? But one of the most standout ones is it was a while back ago before I started mountain biking, and as you all know, I'm an avid mountain biker now. So trips look a little bit different. But my significant other, he was going to ride this one trail that I just knew that I couldn't do it because it was well beyond me at that point in time. And so I was like, 30 miles away is Amicalola Falls. This is in Dawnsville, Georgia. It is the tallest waterfall in Georgia, and I think the third or fourth tallest east of the Mississippi. It's a big waterfall. It's a beautiful waterfall if you haven't been. But there are multiple ways to hike it. And I set out. I was like, he's going to be gone for a couple of hours. I'm going to go drive over there. I'm going to do the hike to the top. It'll be great. Start the hike. It's wonderful. I'm by myself. And there are people all around kind of doing the same trail. And I noticed that me and another female hiker were just kind of like going back and forth. Like I would stop for a break and she would go ahead, and then she would stop for a break and I would go ahead. And at one point we both just kind of stopped and we were like, do you just want to hike together? It would probably be way easier and we could have somebody to talk to. And her name was Rubina, and she's wonderful. We're still friends on Facebook. Shout out to Rubina. But she made the whole hike so much more entertaining because I didn't feel like I was like just out here trekking along on my own. And then I got to meet somebody and learn all about them and how, what brought her to travel by herself, to do Amicalola by herself. And when we got to the top, we took each other's photos and then walked back down. And since then, I mean, we haven't spoken, but it's nice to still follow along on her, different journeys and vice versa. And it's kind of fun, like the different connections you can have when you're just doing a shared activity with complete strangers, and whether or not you can, make a friend along the way. But she's great.
I love that. Travel is better when done together, even with strangers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially with strangers in some standpoints,
Mm-hmm. Your college friend story made me think of on our honeymoon. I saw a friend from college that was our flight attendant on our flight on the way to Paris. And I was like, what a strange small world. And you just never know who you're going to run into one.
Right? Isn't that the funny thing about like when we're talking about the people who travel and like, a while back we were talking about how whenever you're traveling, just be cognizant of the fact that you're traveling to somebody else's home. It's so kind of crazy that when you meet these people across the world, whether you are the tourist or they are, and you're interacting with someone as in your travels, when you look to the right of you and there's somebody that you graduated college with 10 years prior and you haven't seen or spoken to them, it makes the world feel so small.
Yep.
Because and you have to think, what are the chances? Right? Like, what are the chances? That was a 1 in a million, I'm sure, scenario where someone I knew was traveling at the same time as me to the same city, sat down at the same bar at the same time, and I happen to know them.
That is think of the statistical odds of that happening.
Right?
Christine ran into a friend. My wife ran into a friend outside the Redwood Forest when we were just traveling to California. We just ran into each other. We were like, what the heck are you doing here? Like that has happened like multiple times. It's weird.
It makes the world feel so small.
Yeah.
The Redwoods are the Redwood Forest is the only place I've ever felt claustrophobic in my life.
Really?
After college, I moved from southern Mexico up to Portland, Oregon, and I decided to drive straight to the coast and just go up Highway 1 until after San Francisco, I took kind of a little jaunt in to go through the Redwoods, and I happened to hit it sort of right as the evening was coming in and the fog starts coming in, and the fog was, maybe like 30, 40 feet over my car, and you're going through this like narrow little winding road with the fog over it, and these trees are just so ungodly enormous. I felt truly claustrophobic. It was a weird feeling.
That's fascinating because I went and it was gorgeous weather, and we just saw these 300-foot tall trees, and you're just like, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah,
but claustrophobic is funny. Well, for me, I didn't have any particular person, but I had lots of flashes of all these characters that we've run into. Total strangers, our cooking instructor, random people we met in Italy that like could speak Italian and kind of gave us some great recommendations, and just all these kind of random characters. But anyway, it's always fun meeting people.
One of my wildest, weirdest travel stories. Right after college, I sold my car so I could buy tickets to Greece. and spent a few weeks in Greece. Yeah, it was great. And my first night there, like, I got in, I stayed at a hostel because I was 22 and before I had back issues and money to steal and stuff. So I stayed at a hostel, but it turned out to be, I didn't know this beforehand, but it turned out to be kind of a business traveler hostelry. And there was a group from Turkey who were there on business in Athens, and got to chatting with one of the guys from Turkey who had gone to college in Texas at University of Texas and was just so excited to have somebody to talk football with, because you spend more than 5 minutes in Texas and you're addicted.
It's true.
So he invited me out with them. They were going to go to this like Turkish restaurant that they knew that was apparently, this like amazing, very authentic Turkish meal. And we go, and it was beautiful, and it was a really nice night. And we're there about 10 minutes before the waiter comes up and is like, we recommend you guys going back to your hotel, because there had been an international incident between Turkey and Greece that evening. And there were like threats on Turkish nationals going on and stuff. And here I am, this like 22-year-old white boy from New Mexico. Like, I have no idea what's going on. I just happened to be in this group that is now like getting threats and stuff. And on the walk back to the hostel, there were like people yelling at our group, and it was wild.
Jeez.
There's this like uninhabited group of rocks basically in the Aegean that are claimed by both Turkey and Greece. And they're always doing flyovers with their Air Force and stuff. And I guess, and pilots being pilots are always like playing chicken and ended up running into each other. These two fighter pilots. The Turkish pilot survived. The Greek pilot died. The Turkish pilot landed in the sea and was picked up by a Greek fishing boat. He had a pistol and like held the Greek fisherman at like back with his pistol until a Turkish ship showed up to pick him up. And so all of Greece was rather pissed off at Turkey that day, and it was not the best day to meet a group of international Turkish travelers.
Jeez.
But we're friends on Facebook, and we still wish each other happy birthdays and whatnot. Or
Facebook connecting the world's travelers.
Yeah, if I see Texas football won or lost, I might say something every now and then. But yeah,
that's funny. That's great. It's like the Trojan War all over again, right? I mean, they've been fighting in that area for 3,000 years.
Forever. Yeah.
So the world is small and history repeats itself. Those are the two takeaways from this.
True takeaways. Yeah.
Nothing you do will change anything. Yeah.
Just a little resignation for your Tuesday afternoon. So, okay, last question is to talk about a destination that is a home away from home and what made it special beyond just your tourist experience. Rachel, you go first.
So I wouldn't necessarily say this was like I set out to travel. It was before I had moved to Florida, because I was born and raised Pennsylvania. And I was, obviously, in high school, all students kind of, get to make the decision of where do I want to go to college? If I want to go to college, where would I like to end up? And I was in my search. I was traveling a bunch to different colleges and whatnot to go tour. And when I mentioned this to my aunt, who at the time lived in Florida, she was like, have you ever considered a Floridian college? Like come down to Florida. It's warmer here. And I didn't have any on my radar, actually. And so that summer, as I did every summer, I came down for a couple of weeks to visit them, and she convinced me to come to the University of Florida and tour the university. And at that point, I had seen quite a few schools, and there were a couple that were absolutely stunning, like beautiful castle-style schools up in the Northeast. But when I walked onto the campus of the university, I was like, oh, this place feels sunny. It feels warm. And not because it's literally in Florida, but it just like had that essence of that comfort feeling when you're at your home. of like a nice warm cup of tea is really like the feeling that I had when I walked onto the campus and I went into the stadium, and like it was almost like the decision was made for me in that moment. I was like, this feels like a place where I can come and I can be comfortable in myself and learn. And that was really like when I decided, okay, I'm fully moving to Gainesville. I have stayed since graduation. I'm still here because I had such a calling to be here. It was one of those moments like when you're just traveling that you find a place that feels right, and it felt right to me here. And I've had a couple of those places. Chattanooga is one of those places too. I have a lot of friends that live up there, and it's just you go and they're showing you all of the things that make like their day to day so special. And it feels like, oh, I could move here. This is nice, and it feels like home when you're there. But yeah, there have definitely been a couple, but that's the one that, and I'll shout it from the rooftops. I love Gainesville. It's great.
That was the day that Rachel became a Florida man.
Florida woman. and a gator. That was the day. That was the day I became a gator.
That's great. Those Florida man memes are always so funny. No, yeah, I love that. And I love that it was college that did that. Because, yeah, college can mean so many different things to so many different people. But to feel like you're at home in a place that's far away across the country, that's really special.
And with hundreds of thousands of more people. I grew up in a small town.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I grew up in a small town. And the university definitely has way more students than residents of my hometown. So it is definitely, yeah, I love it here.
That's great. I had a similar feeling in a college town, and I wrote down Oxford, England.
Okay.
That to me, when I've always known I would like Oxford. All my favorite writers are Oxford men. Oscar Wilde, C.S. Lewis, so on. And when I got there, I was like, yep, this is about what I hoped and dreamed it would be. And it has forever been that. And I've been, I think, 3 times now. And every time I go, I feel like I should be there. But I'm not smart enough.
I'm more of a Cambridge man myself.
That's fair. That's fine. That's fine. Cambridge is great. I haven't been, but I should go. Ian, what about you?
I think the one that immediately springs to mind is this little town called Mulegé, Mexico. It's on the Baja California Peninsula and Baja California Sur on the Gulf side, so not on the Pacific side. When I was a kid, we used to travel to Mexico all the time, just being right there. And there's a town in Sonora called Guaymas that there's a ferry that goes across the Gulf. And the ferry takes you just north of this town, Mulegé. That one year, the first year we went, like the truck, my dad's truck that we were driving, something happened and broke down. And so we were kind of stuck in this town for a night because they didn't, at the time, it could be different now. I haven't been in probably 20 years, but at the time it didn't have like power lines connecting the town. Everything ran on these like big backup generators that only would run between like 11 in the morning and like 4 in the afternoon. So every day during that time, everybody would be really busy trying to get everything done. And then the electricity goes off and everybody lights candles and bonfires and everything else and just basically has a party every night. And the first we had gotten there early evening, like late afternoon, early evening. So the mechanic wasn't able to look at the car until the next day. And we found this like tiny little motel inn thing that more of a kind of bed and breakfast kind of place that the people just like invited us in. And, we hung out all night. We had spaghetti with clams that had been like dug out of the Baja like that day. And it was like a great little feeling. And then pretty much at least every other year, if not every year for the rest of my childhood, we went back there and stayed at that little inn for a couple nights. And it was always a lot of fun. I definitely want to go back sometime soon.
When was the last time you've been there?
It was a while. It was when I was in college, so probably 03, 04, somewhere in there.
Yeah. What do you do for a trip? That'd be really special. Take your own family back and do the whole thing. It'd be great.
Definitely.
That's cool. I love that story. And I love the idea. This is romantic, but I love the idea of like nobody has power after 4 p.m.
Yeah.
We're all just hanging out.
It was very odd.
It
was a lot of fun.
That's cool. That's special. Anything else you guys would like to share about your favorite travel memories?
No, I think we tell enough anecdotes on here. We probably should we'll catch it.
This is supposed to be
on
a
the
short
next episode.
Yeah.
What were our takeaways? Our takeaways were travel with an open mind. Don't try to have every minute of every second of your itinerary planned, and bring entertainment.
Yeah, because you never know what's going to happen.
You never know when you'll be without.
Bring a book.
You'll never know when you'll be without electricity.
Yes,
That's true.
yes. Bring a physical book with you. You will thank yourself later. But I think if I could distill it even further, travel is about people. I think every one of our stories, barring the view of the Swiss Alps, it's about people. Either people that told you to go someplace, the people you met along the way, or being stuck in some place and having these memories that you could go back to and have these friendships with these people, mostly via Facebook, but that you can keep up these kind of relationships. Like that's the thing that makes travel memorable.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Well, thanks for your time. This was enjoyable.
Thank you.
And I hope people listening will share their own stories with us. So please get in touch with the Switchfly team and tell us your own travel stories. I would love to hear more stories. This is great. Thank you both. We will see you next time.
Thanks, Brandon.